After finding out she had a terminal illness, Ms. Holeshoe seeks to uncover the true identity of who her biological father is, only to find out the most shocking surprises on her journey. It's one roller coaster to the next in this episode.
Ms. Holeshoe, you claim your mother had an affair with the defendant's father, and today you're in court to prove that he is your biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Ms. Howard, you and your sisters say Ms. Holeshoe is a delusional troublemaker.
Now, four get really heated in a matter of seconds. It felt like they all hated themselves from their previous lives. Apparently, the alleged father had passed away, but his daughters for sure weren't going to welcome Ms. Holeshoe with open arms.
And
Also, I'm in the obituary as his daughter.
you are.
Yes, I am, ma'am.
That was a big mistake. Our father's sister did that.
No.
And did not tell any of us about it. Our father didn't even mention her.
Nope.
Ms. Holeshoe found out she had a real dad in the most awkward way. Trust me, your mind isn't going to believe what you're about to hear. Her stepdad and mom were having an argument. Boom, the bomb drops and she can't believe what she hears.
Because my stepdad was drunk and he was fighting with my mother, and he said, well, who do you think your father is? And so after that, my mother told me, and she took me and introduced me to...
Now the sisters for sure weren't going easy on Ms. Holeshoe. They felt she was an imposter who was trying to spoil their family's name. They stood their ground and denied every single thing Ms. Holeshoe said in the courtroom. Trust me, it was quite a show.
Into contact with Ms. Holeshoe.
Yeah.
How old were you all when this meeting happened?
I was 19 at the time.
So you remember this day?
Oh, with clearly, like it was yesterday. They were sitting in a booth with my dad across from her and her mother. I was standing at the end and he said, I just brought you guys here to let you know that she's your sister.
Some really interesting stories started to fly around the courtroom. Everyone was trying to air out their minds and beliefs. In the process, some nasty revelations jumped out. Trust me, they weren't nice, and some of it was just super fishy. But Ms. Holeshoe stood her ground by saying,
My father had gone to at the bar where her mother was working and caught her cheating on him. That gave me
No topic.
the thought that obviously her mother probably has no idea who any of her children belong to.
Really? It's not my fault you guys don't want to know me.
The courtroom was pretty heated up at this point, with both parties throwing shade at each other. Another one of their sisters walks into the courtroom. Surprisingly, she's on Ms. Holeshoe's side. She believes that there is a chance that Ms. Holeshoe is her sister. Now, that's interesting, wouldn't you say?
I believe that she is.
You do. Tell
Yes,
the
I
court
do.
why.
Because my father told me that she was.
She just needs a family, Your Honor, because her whole family,
She
she's
needs-
shut out. They've shut her
No,
out
I've
because
shut
she's
them
such a
out,
devil.
Tell me about that moment when you were informed or your father told you.
Now she had quite a lot to say. Not only did she back up Ms. Holeshoe's claim of being their sister, she also said their father was no saint. He was also messing around with other women. Wow.
Ms. Holshoe's mother had been sleeping around, had a reputation.
Yes.
And
As
so they
did
didn't
he.
believe it.
As did he.
Oh, we
That's
don't.
why
Our,
I don't believe
our
it.
dad
We
is
don't
all of our
deny
hero.
that our father slept around.
He is our hero to this day. And I'm not going to bash him, but yes, he loved women. And that's just the way it was. Some men hunt, some men don't.
Well, it's time to spill the beans on whether she was really his daughter or if it was all a joke. All eyes are on the judge as she gets ready to give the final verdict.
That the probability of half siblingship between Diana Howard and Misty Lynn Holshoe is 98.1%.
Mr. Hartfield is in court today with his wife to prove that the child his mistress claims is his isn't. The mistress, Ms. Streeter, says he's only denying the child to save his marriage. Well, let us see how true that is.
Ms. Streeter, you claim that during your relationship with the defendant, he convinced you to get pregnant with his child, but what you didn't know is that he was a married man.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Hartfield, you say you made a mistake by having an affair, but you know you are not the father of Ms. Streeter's child.
It's husband and wife against the mistress today. Although Mr. Hartfield admits to cheating, he doesn't believe he is the father of Ms. Streeter's child because she has multiple sexual partners. Well, let's get more details about the case.
Mr. Hartfield asked me to have a baby with him. We were dating for about 8 months, a long time. We were in a relationship, a committed relationship with just me and him. And throughout the whole relationship, he wanted to have a baby. He said he didn't get to raise any of his.
We already know this is going to be a heated episode. Ms. Streeter says Mr. Hartfield directly asked her to carry his child, but he's outrightly denying it, saying she's mixing him up with someone else.
What point did you discover he was married? Let's get to that.
He had ended up telling me a relative's name, and I had went on Facebook and found the relative, then found Mrs. Hartfield's page, then that's when I seen pictures of them. And I didn't even call her right away because he had told me, like, them pictures are old, she's professional, and for her image.
Each party claims the other person is lying, and we no longer know who to believe. Ms. Streeter still insists they were in a committed relationship for 8 months and that the pregnancy was intentional, but Mr. Hartfield says the story is false.
What game is this you feel like you need to play with a 22-year-old girl?
Your Honor, I am dealing with a 22-year-old, okay? It's because I didn't do things for her from the extortion that she's been doing to me that she's gonna call my wife.
Mr. Hartfield is more than twice Ms. Streeter's age. Wow. Now he's saying he plays her silly games because she blackmails him, and if he doesn't, she'll report him to his wife. It seems like Mr. Hartfield really cares about this marriage of his. Why then did he cheat?
Dominique deals with so many guys, okay? She found one that was an older guy, and she thought that I would be a cake daddy, or however you want to call it. The thing is that she found out, hey, you're dealing with a guy that ain't got no money, so now you waste your time.
That's not true.
Did Ms. Streeter just say he told her he would marry her? What was she thinking? Believing him? Mr. Hartfield thinks she chose him to fill the role of her baby daddy because, out of her many sexual partners, she thought he was the richest. Now that's crazy.
Did he fill you in on all of these details and the fact he's still texting this 22-year-old young woman?
No, he did not.
How did you even find out about this entire affair?
The text message that I received from her,
You get a text message.
a random text message that says, I'm in a relationship with your husband, have been for 8 months, and I'm pregnant.
Mrs. Hartfield is not happy. One would have thought the marriage was perfect with how her husband kept rambling about trying to save it. He doesn't even take care of the kids from his marriage. It now makes sense why he insists Ms. Streeter's child is not his.
Hartfield, you're a married man,
Yes.
but you're on this child's original birth certificate.
No, well, the name is printed. There's no signature of mine.
So at first you allowed your name to be printed?
They did that while I wasn't there, Your Honor.
This is the first copy before he took off the name.
After the baby was born, Mr. Hartfield originally signed the birth certificate but quickly withdrew his signature. Why the back and forth, mister? Or is Mr. Hartfield right about the baby not being his? Are his suspicions valid?
My wife, I love her. God knows I do. During the time that Dominique and I met, I had my own place.
He was
Dominique
still
had her
living
own
with
place.
me. I didn't know he had his own place.
Wait a minute, I don't need her support. I don't need your support. I don't need her support. Please sit her down. Please sit her down.
Wait a minute.
Sit her down.
Hold on.
Whoa, now I didn't see that coming. Mr. Hartfield just proved to the entire court that he is two-faced. He expresses his love for his wife, and seconds later, he disrespectfully asks her to sit down and shut up because she isn't corroborating his story. Wow.
Yeah.
And this is
that's
baby
me.
Caleb
That's right.
together.
I did that last week, actually.
Also,
Something else.
Baby, sit down, please. You ain't got nothing to do with this.
I sure
Go
don't
ahead,
have
y'all.
anything to do with it.
I wish you
Pick
had
your
the
lie.
keys. Why are you here?
Mr. Hartfield,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you pipe down just a little
Okay,
bit because your tone,
Yes, ma'am.
while you talking to your wife,
Yes, ma'am.
is making me edgy.
I understand.
If he's acting this way in court, heaven knows how nasty he acts outside. Did he really think his wife was going to stand there and support him after he cheated and lied to her? Wow. And it gets even worse.
And I didn't need it, and I didn't ask for it.
I want a divorce if I can get one.
I'm good with that. Not a problem.
You're classic.
Thank you.
You're classic. You really are.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I mean, it's just, if I pulled up the profile of cheater, con man, clown, and coward,
Results.
your face would be next to it.
You mean Mrs. Hartfield is wife number 7? Guess we've found ourselves a Mr. Evelyn Hugo. And what's with the clapping? This has to be one of the most arrogant men to appear in paternity court.
Mr. Hartfield, you may be one of the most disappointing men I've ever seen in this courtroom.
Thank you.
You are really, I mean, what a disgrace.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
I mean, you really should be.
It's only been minutes, and Judge Lauren is tired of Mr. Hartfield. Now imagine how the two women have dealt with him for so long. Indeed, they need to run while they can.
You're clapping for your own idiocy.
I mean, you know.
And I love that.
Thank you.
I'm always hopeful for the spirit of an individual, and I try to see the good in everyone.
Right.
I don't
don't think I've ever said this in this courtroom before, Jerome, but I pray he's not this child's father.
Well, let's see if Judge Lauren gets the result she wants, because this is one really thorny issue. Hang on tight, because the results that Judge Lauren is about to read out could blow you away.
In the case of Streeter versus Hartfield, when it comes to 1-month-old Caleb Streeter, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Hartfield, you are the father.
Ms. Hewlett slept with 2 men on the day she conceived her 2-year-old son, Bentley, but she believes he is Mr. Crisp's son. On the other hand, Mr. Crisp isn't as certain as she is because Ms. Hewlett is a serial cheat.
You believe you conceived the son you have with Mr. Crisp.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Crisp, you claim Ms. Hewlett cheated on you at least 10 different times during your relationship.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Hewlett has cheated on Mr. Crisp more than 10 times in the course of their relationship. How does she expect him to believe the child is his? Apart from that, she did sleep with 2 men on the day she conceived, so the doubt's pretty strong.
At least I tell the truth that I told him as soon as I cheated on him. I told him 3 hours later. I told him 3 hours later he
Still don't give you no right to cheat on me.
So wait.
She started cheating because she felt isolated and unloved, but Mr. Crisp says he was unavailable because he couldn't process the death of his father and was trying to drown it with partying and all. Cheating isn't the solution to a partner's unavailability.
Plus, she told me he's cheated on me. I've had friends tell me. I mean,
So
how can I not have a doubt that he's mine?
Because during the time Bentley was conceived,
They are both in the wrong. Mr. Crisp shouldn't have left her alone for a long time, partying and whatnot. And Ms. Hewlett shouldn't have slept with every available person because her partner wasn't around.
around the time your son was conceived.
Yes, Your Honor.
After that, were you also intimate with Mr. Crisp?
Within a 12 to 24-hour period.
First, we have to talk about Ms. Hewlett's nonchalant stance. That lady looks like she doesn't care. Secondly, how do you sleep with 10 men within your window of conception? This is a woman who has 2 kids with a man she's in a committed relationship with. Well, I guess they weren't so committed.
Now,
no right to cheat
has
on me
Ms.
because I wasn't
Hewlett
married.
always told you you were Bentley's father, or has she ever
She
told
has told me that I wasn't before.
Oh, she has.
We've gotten in a fight before, and she says, well, you just need to go
Always
on because you're not
fighting.
really his father anyways.
They already have 2 kids together. Throwing it in his face that he isn't the father of the 3rd one couldn't have been nice. Ms. Hewlett shot herself in the leg by saying that to him. Well, let's find out more.
At times I do think he's not.
And you say the other gentleman is now deceased.
Yes, ma'am, he is. 3 months after I found out I was
Did he
pregnant.
have blonde hair? Did he have some of the features that you see in your son?
It's scary at this point because Bentley looks more like the other potential father than he looks like Mr. Crisp. However, this man is deceased. Then there's Mr. Crisp, who's grown attached to the boy. What's going to happen if it turns out he's not Mr. Crisp's son?
He really doesn't look like Joe, but I hope he is Joe's, because that way I made the mistake of could be 3 different men. And I want to break that cycle because
It's devastating to see how kids are affected by their parents and their upbringing, and how things that shouldn't be passed down are passed down from one generation to another. Ms. Hewlett's mom has been in the same situation as her daughter, confused about Ms. Hewlett's paternity. This is not a convenient situation to be in, trust me.
Because what I see now is 2 adults here can't figure out how to be in a healthy relationship, but ultimately it's the children that are suffering.
Yes, Your Honor.
The couple could go on and on complaining about how one cheats and the other is never around. But that's not going to solve anything. They need to solve their individual issues and either work on the relationship or break up, because that seems like a healthier choice.
Find this out, get this, over with so I
You
can...
indicated that you do want Bentley to be your biological child.
Yes, Your Honor. And I was going to, get married to her and just settle down and live a happy life.
Of course, now he has the perfect plan. He wants to marry Ms. Hewlett, find a job, and do his part in raising the kids. He's suddenly inspired to be a better partner and dad just because of a few words from the judge. It's easier said than done, Mr. Crisp. It takes intentionality to make it work.
To be better parents, to get along, to take care of our kids and raise our family. I don't want us to suffer anymore. We've suffered a lot. I about lost him. I about lost my life. I mean...
Will Ms. Hewlett and Mr. Crisp get a chance at the perfect family they want to build? Let's hear what the DNA results say. And hang on to your seats, guys, because you will not believe what this result is.
Mr. Chris, you are his father.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Ms. Morton is requesting the court to award her $475 in back child care support in case one of 3 men is identified as her baby's biological father. Mr. Prowell, one of the men on the list, believes he should be excluded because there are too many potential fathers for it to be him.
Who the father is of this child. This is why I'm here. You know, I've come to find out that she's slept around with one guy, then another guy. In this situation, I was under the impression that was, you know, me and her pretty much against the world.
So, Ms. Morton and Mr. Prowell were in a relationship, and Mr. Prowell wouldn't have doubted Ethan's paternity if he didn't find out she had been sleeping around with several other men. Let's hear Ms. Prowell's side of the story.
Now, a couple of months in, I'm finding out there's another woman.
What evidence do you have of that?
On his Twitter account. He's talking to a young lady.
Here we go again with the revenge sex trope. When are couples ever going to learn that this doesn't solve anything? She thought he was cheating, so she went ahead to cheat. Now there's a baby, and nobody knows who his father is.
Before he did so, he asked me, was I involved with Miss Prowell? Now, I told him yes. You know, we had a little thing going on at the time.
Okay, this woman is hilarious. You're upset that he believed someone who told him you were cheating, yet you admit it's true. So what's your issue, ma'am? The point is, you were cheating on him with this, Mr. Gaddis, and that's it.
Lied to me, obviously. I don't think I'm the father, you know, because we only messed around a few times. I didn't hear from her for months after that.
Wow. Ms. Prowell sure knows how to lie to men. Mr. Gaddis, who is also a potential father, is denying the paternity of the child and even had no idea she was pregnant. They had had a fling a long time ago, and to him, that ship has long sailed. So this baby issue doesn't seem to concern him much.
Mr. Laurie, we also met, and I do want to say for the record, I'm very remorseful for what I did because that was totally out of spite. That's what it was.
She claims to have been drunk when the thing with Mr. Gaddis happened, but the thing with the third guy, Mr. Lowry, was very intentional, and she had done it out of spite. Like Judge Lauren just said, 3 wrongs do not make a right.
If you knew we had sex more than once, why wasn't I hit up for this? Like, why weren't I called?
Can I say something, Your Honor?
I'm talking now.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Never.
This all makes sense now knowing that they're teenagers. What does Ms. Prowell mean by not wanting Mr. Lowry to be her child's father? If you didn't want him to be, you shouldn't have slept with him in the first place, because now it's not in your control.
Sometime on the 17th, and I slept with him again on the 28th.
Okay, move on.
I'm on the red. When I slept with Mr. Gaddis.
My goodness, how is this girl not embarrassed? She slept with 3 co-workers in like the same week, and she's here like she's some math teacher teaching the court how to read a calendar.
Mr. Morton was in the hospital with me during the process of me giving birth. However, after me giving birth and they moved me to my stable room, he left and didn't come back.
Does Ms. Prowell think she's in the right? Does she really believe anyone's going to be on her side after everything she's just admitted? It's a good thing Mr. Morton didn't sign that birth certificate. At least he held her hand while she gave birth to the baby. It's proof that he cares for her.
And why didn't you call him?
How can we help if we don't hear about the
Be
kid?
the father. I didn't want him to know.
It doesn't matter. If that's my kid, you should have to call me to let me know.
Imagine trying to make a choice now. What a joke. Since when did knowing how to change a diaper become a criterion for being a father? How many men, or people in general, know how to change a diaper before having a kid? It's clear Ms. Prowell doesn't fancy Mr. Lowry very much. If only she had considered that before having revenge sex with him.
All 3 of them being some real deadbeat daddy.
Okay.
It's a percentage that is your child, it's a percentage that it isn't your child. Regardless, until you know, no one should hold it against.
Did Ms. Prowell and her neighbor expect all the men to be knocking at her door, begging to take care of the child when they weren't even sure if the child was theirs? It doesn't work that way. Good thing it's only been 6 weeks, and from here on out, whoever the father is will have to step up.
But where you and your baby are today, I'm not saying they got it all the way right. All of you silly, because you're teenagers, you're young, you have no business even having babies.
Bet she wasn't expecting that outburst from Judge Lauren. Let's end this whole thing and find out who Ethan's father is. The results are in.
It has been determined by this court, the father is Mr. Morton. Are those tears of joy or just relief?
I do feel remorseful. And can I say a couple of things to these gentlemen?
Yes.
Ms. Williams and her two sisters are in court today because their mother's past promiscuous behavior led to them growing up without knowing their fathers. Their mom, Ms. Liddell, is also here to finally put an end to the paternity mystery because her daughters still punish her for past mistakes.
It was this man who was supposedly had been my father, and we were all wanting to know, like his family, him, my aunt that raised me and Jasmine.
This is about to be one chaotic case. One thing that we know already is that these girls do not like their mother. And maybe, just maybe, the mother doesn't like them too. Let's find out more.
Family members would say, no, he's not your father. It was a rumor going around that.
Who is that?
James.
The man who's going to appear in court today and has been tested?
Yes.
All right, so how do you start getting doubt?
When I was about 17 years old, me and her had an argument.
It's tasking trying to understand the issue at hand. The girls grew up thinking a particular man, James, was their father, but their mom would say during arguments that he wasn't. And then, this Mr. James doesn't treat all the girls equally because he doesn't think they're all his.
He calls out her name. Who are you? He talking about some, so you don't know who I am. She talking about some, I don't know, you talking about some, yes you do. She talking about some, oh, Lisa, they're your daddy. How is you not gonna know this is my daddy when you look at him? But you tell, that's your daddy.
Ooh, this family has more problems than paternity court can fix. The youngest, Lisa, doesn't believe James is her father. All three girls still carry the pain of being abandoned by their mother and left with relatives. However, their mother has her reasons for doing so.
Do you know who her father is?
I don't know. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be honest. Jamie, no. Lisa, no. Jasmine, no. I'm not for sure if James is their father, if he's not their father.
It's easy to see where the girls are coming from. The woman has no idea who the father of any of her three kids is. This means that even Mr. James Williams might not be the father of any of them.
Deep in my heart, Your Honor, and I hate to say it, and it's hurting me to say it too, but no, I do not.
You don't act like it, so it shouldn't be hurting you. He said no. You don't act like it. You sure don't act like it.
What are your doubts? What are your doubts based
don't believe he's your daddy.
I always had the doubt in my heart.
While Mr. James has been present in their lives to the best of his abilities, he's never been 100% sure he's their dad, and the girls have felt the same way. Imagine living your life not knowing for sure if your father's really your father or your child's really your child. That's just so sad.
Why did you miss my 8th grade graduation? You weren't away.
Because
you were out. You were able to come. Why did you miss it?
Jamie, because I was a piece of, like, I'm not gonna keep down on myself, but I didn't care about y'all.
You see, it's not even about their paternity anymore. These girls need to go to therapy with their mother to dissect the pent-up hurt both parties feel. Even if they find out who their fathers are, they're still going to walk out of this court, calling their mother the most insulting names.
Children with young people, because it will eat away at them, break them down and lead them down the same road you were. Somebody broke you down. That's obvious.
That's the thing, like, I don't know what words to use to, because I done told them so many things and said so much, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get better.
This is a case like no other, because it's not only about finding out who their father is. This is about a mother whose kids wouldn't give her a chance to redeem herself. This is about 3 girls who grew up without a mother and have learned to hate her. This is about a broken home. This is about broken people.
Get better if the only thing you require of her is that she continue to tell you what a piece of crap she's been to you. Look, let me call it the way I see it. You see her? She living her agony every day.
Judge Lauren summed it up perfectly. The girls need to give their mom a breather because the woman is obviously aware she has done wrong by them and is living with the agony every single day. Could they give her a chance to right her wrongs?
Truly believe that what you need in your life and what you're wanting in your life is not just gonna come from finding out who your father is, but it's gonna truly come when you begin to find out who your mother was.
It's best we get to the results already. Let's find out if Mr. Williams is the father of any of the girls.
Mr. Williams, you are her father.
It was out of happiness.
When it comes to Ms. Lisa Williams, Mr. Williams, you are not her father.
Do you know that feeling when your best friend goes running to your boyfriend to tell them all about your different escapades with other men? Well, Ms. Stremke knows that feeling very well. Her friend told her partner, Mr. Jaramillo, about her different attempts with other men, and now Mr. Jaramillo doubts that both of his children belong to him. It all began like this.
Mr. Jaramillo, you claim your doubt is valid because you were present when another man impregnated Ms. Stremke, and the family you thought you were building is not salvageable until you have DNA proof. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
That's right, Ms. Stremke. Children are extremely wise, and you don't want your child to grow up in that sort of situation. Mr. Jaramillo says this is regrettable, but he really can't do anything about it since the paternity issues get brought up in fights.
Because he doesn't feel that those are his kids.
You know, when you got pregnant with the oldest daughter, Naviana, what was the issue surrounding her paternity?
I had just gotten out of a relationship with my son's father and had moved back to Iowa. Well, I ended up...
Now, Mr. Jaramillo had never met this friend before, but he believed every word she said. Ms. Stremke, of course, knew the friend in question and argued that it was all a lie.
Which I really don't understand, because how can you base your daughter's paternity off of some girl you had never even met?
Well, it was one of your friends, you know. You'd spent time with her.
What did she say to you exactly, Mr. Jaramillo?
She said that the baby that Miss Stremke had...
Another thing is that Ms. Stremke and Mr. Jaramillo had only been together for about a month before Ms. Stremke told him that she was pregnant. To make things worse, Naviana was born about 3 weeks early, which makes it seem like the child truly doesn't belong to Mr. Jaramillo. Instead, it's for the man Ms. Stremke slept with before meeting him.
That was about the time that the other males were present.
I was upfront with you and told you that there was one other person before we had gotten together.
You said one other person, and then came another fellow that your best friend told me about.
I had never slept with anybody but one person besides you, and that was before we had gotten together.
What about the second daughter? What doubts does Mr. Jaramillo have about her? And exactly how did he get those doubts? The answer will probably surprise you.
We ended up deciding to spice up our sex life and everything, and we ended up having a female-female threesome with him, so he got to pick another woman, and it was what it was. We did it, and then it was maybe a couple weeks later it got brought up, it'd only be fair if we had a male, and you.
Mr. Jaramillo's friend didn't come over for pancakes. He came over for a different sort of cake. Mr. Jaramillo invited his friend to have intercourse with his wife, and none of the 3 people involved used any sort of protection. Imagine if they did. It would have protected both of them from showing up in paternity court today.
Mutual suggestion between Amber and I, we had gone through it back and forth between Miss Stremke and I. It was a toss-up back and forth. One minute she'd want to do it, the next minute she didn't. And from being with Amber, I know if she's going to do something, it has to be on the spot.
Look, if you want to spice up your marriage, here's some good advice. Don't invite other people into it. If you want to add more excitement to your marriage, go see a movie, get on a jet, and go for a vacation. Anyway, let's find out who the child's birth father is.
Mr. Jaramillo, you are the father.
Oh my God, this is so good. This is so good.
You look so relieved.
I am.
And I hope you all understand now that you have this clarity, that this clarity will present itself on many levels in your relationship. The fact that having sex without protection and inviting other people into the relationship